This morning, serious questions about election integrity in Minnesota. A voter is now under investigation after allegedly casting 2 ballots. And it isn't just speculation, there's video and a police report backing it up. Joining me now is election integrity investigator Rick Weibel. Rick, so good to have you on the show today. You uncovered this by looking over daily absentee data in Sherburne County, and a red flag was raised that caught your eye. What did you see?
We actually saw many new voter registrations and connected to absentee ballots, and the daily absentee data was showing that there was no voter ID. And we were seeing high numbers of registrations that were occurring, and it raised an alarm because it seemed that in this particular area, it was very, very targeted. And we were trying to figure out what election was this potential group targeting. And so over time, we figured out that it was more of a city council race that was being targeted. And let's play the video because it speaks volumes, and I may want to interrupt the video as we go along as some of the narrative. And so here we see the teacher is arriving with his voters, and that white van back there that you see, that has Texas license plates. It's a rental vehicle. Here's the teacher right here. This is Mr. Rage. And what's interesting is he's not even a registered voter. And I looked back in November of 2024 on November 10th, and even currently, he's still not a registered voter in the state of Minnesota. And here you can see the teacher is carrying a ballot for this voter, or registration paperwork up for this voter, up to the clerk. And he's doing a lot of handling and connecting with voters there. And you can see a little bit of the chaos going here where, of course, there are a lot of questions. But typically, wouldn't you want a registered voter to really help you through this process if they're an interpreter?
The answer is yes. And I want to go back to this teacher apparently handling the ballots and the paperwork here. Rick, when I go in to vote and I show my voter ID, usually the volunteers there and the workers there, they tell me, because there are several, usually 2 or 3 blank ballots on the table after I show my ID. They tell me to choose one. I choose it, and then I go to the machine. From the machine, I go to the tabulator, and the lady tells me, or the man tells me, to stick it into the machine. Nobody touches my ballot except for myself. So that there raises a red flag too, because they're not supposed to be touching these ballots, correct?
That is correct. And especially when we talk about voter secrecy, we want to make sure that every person's vote is private. And we see in this video that that's not happening because he's even reviewing the ballots, not just the voter registration forms in this video.
Wow. And so, this person comes in, this teacher comes in. Did this teacher come in with just one person or multiple people?
Multiple people. And he also came in multiple times throughout the day. And this is what's absolutely incredible. So during this particular day, he came in twice. And there were other days that he was coming in throughout the absentee period in Minnesota's election, which is basically 45 days. And it's absolutely stunning that in this video, there's a 45-minute time window where a voter actually votes twice. And in this video, there's even a spot where you can see the teacher is sitting down and actually reviewing and filling out somebody's ballot. And he does this multiple times on this particular day. And we have multiple videos that we have received from Sherburne County. Sherburne County is one of 3 counties that intersects St. Cloud, Minnesota. And what's interesting is that this teacher was observed apparently hitting multiple counties, helping voters cast their ballots. And so this is just absolutely incredible. And we can even see that he's filling out the forms, he's correcting the voter registration forms, he's reviewing ballots, he's putting the ballots into the envelopes, he's having conversations directly with the clerk. And it makes you wonder, what's this conversation going on when he's not with a voter to do any type of interpretation. And so it just begs all sorts of questions throughout this process.
Absolutely. I have a lot of questions right now with this breaking report. So let's go back. The group of people that this teacher is walking in with, does that tie to the rules that you were looking at that raised the red flags originally, that you had all of these new voters with no voter IDs? Do we know if these are some of the same people?
Yes, and what we see as well as we're looking at multiple days, we have concerns, and part of the problem is that because of the face coverings, it's hard to identify every single person, and so this is where I think a full review of all of the paperwork needs to be done by the FBI and the Department of Justice to really look at what did happen here, because just the fact that there was actually a case where a voter was, quote unquote, voting multiple times, the state basically kind of just said, we're not going to worry about that, and didn't pursue it any further. And what's interesting is that that voter, when I look at the voter records, has no indication of a vote cast for the 2024 election. But we don't see a chart that basically says that there were votes that were spoiled or not accepted during the 2024 election in a reasonable amount of numbers. And so when we see this type of dystopian happening, and this disconnect between the number of absentee ballots being accepted by the county, and then at the end, when we look at the voter histories and the absentee numbers are not equivalent, that's where we kind of look at some of the fingerprints of fraud to basically look at, we need to investigate this and represent candidates. And so early on, a good attorney out of Minnesota, Matt Benda, when I saw this data, I alerted him to go talk to one of the candidates. And so he filed FOIA requests of the counties that this candidate was part of. And so this really started in October of 2024. And so he did such a great job of following up on the case and the historical evidence of it. And what we find out is that Mr. Rage, the teacher, presented false ID to the police officers. And we have that police report available at MidwestSwampWatch.com that you can read it. And I've also this morning just posted the case in district court regarding the double or the Tyler Rage issue, but also the double voter. And you can kind of see just a hot mess of what is going on. There's a full report that is about 384 pages that we're still pouring through, and we'll have more information out as to what we find and uncover. And so this truly is a developing story, and a lot of credit goes to Matt Benda, who writes a Substack article about this a couple months ago in Benda for Common Sense is the Substack group that you can take a look at. And he outlines some of the things in there, and the fact that the sheriff's department kind of label Raj the teacher is absolutely stunning. And so when we think about election fraud, is he teaching these people about election fraud or truly how to vote? And why does he have such supervisory oversight of these elections to where he's filling out the forms, he's directing traffic, and even reviewing people's ballots? And so what I understand interpreters to be is that they're supposed to help you fill out the forms, but they're not supposed to point where you're supposed to vote, or they're not supposed to tell you how to vote, or even touch your ballot, or even take a pen to your ballot. And we see that in this video. And so it's absolutely disturbing. It's disgusting. And we even see in the longer report, when the sheriff had actually interviewed some of the folks, they felt pressured to vote. And so what we know about some of the Somali culture is that sometimes women don't have the full rights as the men in their family structures, that we're a little concerned that if anybody is being forced to vote against their will or they're uncomfortable, we should never create that type of environment. And so when we think about Minnesota law and we think of federal laws where the voting place is supposed to be a place of sanctity and quiet and peace, we see this chaos here in Sherburne County, and it's a complete mess. You've got voters sitting there waiting in line, people cutting in. You've got the teacher running all over the place. I mean, it's completely disorganized, and it's just crazy. And here's the example of the double voter that she's back picking up her second ballot, and she's about to cast it. And we have that in this video. And so it's just absolutely stunning. The beauty of that is that we have the clock there in the back that we can actually see that it is from the same day, with the outfits that the county workers are wearing, but also the clock on the back wall that we can actually see that it occurred at that point in time. And so, and there he is, the teacher bringing the ballot up there and doing all of the work. And that really shouldn't be happening at all. And so this is where it's just absolutely stunning, and this needs to be investigated. And this is where, here I am from South Dakota, and I have John Thune as the leader of the Senate. And when we look at the Real ID and pass the SAVE Act to make sure that we have voter ID, this is a seminal video where there are a lot of questions being raised as, okay, why is Mr. Rage not a registered voter? How is he able to help these voters? Who's paying for him? Who's paying for the rental card? What is going on here? And then how is Ms. Guri's vote not counted in the elections? And why are there so many gaps within the election itself? And so it makes me wonder how many of these people are legal, how many of these people are illegal, and how many of these people are being pressured to vote. And we even see in the larger police report, and a little bit of a hint in this one here that's online, is that some of these folks were brought across the street and basically coffee was purchased for them as well. And so it's kind of like a little reward. And so there's so many things here that are just so off color that Minnesota needs to protect their elections, but with the Democrats in control, it won't happen. And so we need the help of the federal government to go after these blue states to help protect the actual vote of the real voters that are there, but also we need to have ID out there. And Minnesota is one of these states where you can vouch for up to 8 people. But if you are part of a nursing home, you're part of a health and human services type contract, whether it's a shelter, whether it's a nursing home, you take that 8 and you flip it on its side, and now it's unlimited. You can vouch for. And so I wonder how many voters he's actually vouching for versus interpreting. And so there's a lot of questions here.
There's so many questions. Going back to this police report, can you tell us who actually filed it? This incident happened in October of 2024, the video we've been watching. Who actually filed the report, and has it just been sitting there until you started raising questions along with others?
Well, yes and no. And so actually, let's give credit where credit is due. Thank God there are great election workers in Sherburne County and throughout the United States. They actually stepped up and said, hey, we think that there's an issue here. And they collected as much evidence there. And the auditor's office basically asked the county sheriff to investigate this further and kind of handed them the evidence. And so here we look at the police report and we see the 2 counts there of felony unlawful voting that the sheriff was investigating. And so they determined that after subsequent interviews that she voted for one office but forgot to vote for another one, and so that's why she requested another ballot. Well, it doesn't really make sense, and especially if that was true, because the way that absentee balloting works is that there's actually what's called a record ID that's assigned to the outer envelope of each of the ballots, that if they suspected that, they could have gone into the ballot box, retrieved that for that voter because they could have looked it up in the database, and they could have potentially discarded the original ballot and allowed her to vote on a secondary one. But that doesn't appear that's what happened here. And so it's really disgusting that when I look up this voter name, I don't see a voter history for her in the 2024 election. So it raises more questions here. And when we look at this election, it doesn't just have state consequences, but it also has federal consequences. And so we had tried to do our due diligence to bring this up to the Department of Justice by giving them this report, but also giving them the information and also alerting them to the December 15th trial settlement regarding Mr. Rage, because he also voted on people's ballots, and they tried to bury that part of it as well when we can clearly see that in the videos. And so there's, I think, charges that should have been brought against him. And what's interesting is that when you look at the court case that we now have published up at Midwest Swamp Watch, it's basically just a presentation of a false ID that they basically go after on this. And that's That's just not right. And so when you have 3 counties that were involved in this, and potentially Keith Ellison would have been notified about this, that they're trying to bury this. And when we try to bring it to the Department of Justice attention, I think they're so short-staffed, especially with happening in Minnesota. And then we have the Department of Justice attorneys, Thompson and his crew, basically resign in the last couple of months over the other Somali fraud and the questions that they had regarding ICE. And so now Minnesota is basically starting from square one when we look at all of the fraud that's happening there in Minnesota. And you add this on top of it. And when you look at elections, when you have fraud in your elections, this is where I truly believe elections is the gateway to understanding your government. If you have fraud in your elections, you can pretty much assume that you're going to have fraud in the rest of the government.
You're absolutely right. And so I hope the people of Minnesota are aware. That's why we have you on today, because you won't find this on mainstream media. But this is proof that there is cheating going on in elections. And you're absolutely right, Rick, that there's so much going on in Minnesota right now. I pray these people wake up and vote for, change in their state, because we've seen Nick Shirley unveil and uncover all of the fraud going on. We've been very adamant here on LINDELLTV about how important it is to secure our elections, and here we are yet again this morning with some proof, video evidence of people coming in and voting multiple times, people's hands on ballots that shouldn't be there, all going on in Minnesota. It is time for a change.
It really is, and I really want to my heart goes out to those election workers that had to deal with this chaos to try and make sure that they conducted the elections in a fair way for all of the other voters that were there as well. But there are definitely, when you look at this video, I would encourage the Minnesota State Legislature to look at performance improvements, because even we saw in the last part of the video clip that you displayed there, you could tell that those voting booths were not quite private enough for voters to actually vote in secret. And so that is absolutely stunning. So I think there's, and when we look at, there's a lack of party oversight and a lack of poll watchers being there. Minnesota really needs to clean this up. And so this video and the next series of videos that we release, I think will basically showcase we need to do things better. We need to protect the voter privacy, the secrecy. We need to be checking IDs. We need to make sure that all of these voters are real voters. We need to make sure that voters are voting for who they want and no one else is bringing a pen to that ballot.
Right. And I'm glad you came on here this morning with this evidence and new revelations coming up in this story that you have been working on. I know you're continuing to sift through all of the paperwork, lots of papers to go through as you continue your investigation. Please keep us updated on what's going on in this case and also everything else going on in Minnesota. While we have you, Rick, we have about 2 minutes left. I was talking to you last night. There's also a case in South Dakota you're following. Can you give us any information there?
Oh, this is a little bit more of a stay tuned, but what we have going on in South Dakota is kind of another feature, is that we actually have legislation in South Dakota that was passed by both chambers, and it is sitting on Governor Roden's desk. And it's South Dakota's version of the SAVE Act requiring voter ID. And what's great about this is that is there going to be a race between South Dakota and the U.S. Senate as to who actually will deliver this and get it signed between Trump and Larry Roden. What's interesting is that this has been sitting on Larry Roden's desk since March 10th. And in South Dakota law, if it goes unsigned for 15 days, excluding, I'm guessing, holidays and Sundays, then it actually becomes law automatically. And so I think there might be a little bit of a challenge that if Governor Roden signs it ahead of Thune being able to get it out of the Senate, that may look bad for optics. And so I really encourage the U.S. senators, please pass the SAVE Act, get it onto Trump's desk. And this very video that you see here is exactly one of the reasons why we have to get better oversight of our elections. And so hopefully this kind of gives and encourages many of those other senators that had any type of a doubt. This is one of the cases in my neighboring state of Minnesota that we have evidence that the SAVE Act would actually have a positive impact on this.
Absolutely. And I think that deadline is coming up Friday, if my math is correct, right? For
Yes.
South Dakota. So we'll definitely keep an eye out on that. Everyone stay tuned for their own bill, their version there in South Dakota. We'll keep you posted. Rick, I want to remind people one more time. I know you're going to come on and continue to keep us updated, and we appreciate that in this one particular case in Minnesota. But you also have your website that has a lot of this information as well, MidwestSwampWatch.com. People can go there. You have it on your homepage. There it is right now, the 2024 Sherburne County report. That entire report, we just showed you a clip of it here, but he has that all posted on his website. So go take a look for yourself as Rick and his team continue to investigate this. Rick, I appreciate you coming on today. Please keep us posted.
You bet. Thank you so much. Stay awesome, everyone, and make sure you positively encourage your legislators, your senators to do the right thing. And stay awesome, everybody.
Thank you, Rick. And we'll have more on election integrity when we come back. We're just getting started. We're going to talk more about the Save America Act, where it stands in the Senate. We have the Conservative Caucus with us. Jim Paff is standing by. We'll talk to him after the break.
Why don't you want voter ID? There's only one reason. Ready? Because you want to cheat. Okay?
For the first time ever, we're bringing you MyPillow mattresses and mattress toppers for as low as $99.98. Remember, sleep's all about temperature and pressure points. Whatever sleep needs you have, we have the right technology for you. Like our MyPillow mattress topper, our queen size has over 10,000 individual comfort supports to help relieve your pressure points. And how about our 3-inch Hybrid Plus mattress topper? It's infused with copper and silver to help your body get the restorative sleep it needs. And our MyPillow and Case Coil mattresses, I personally helped develop these mattresses to make sure they have everything needed to give us great sleep. Plus, they're made right here in the USA, and they ship right to your front door absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to get MyPillow mattresses and toppers for as low as $99.98 and free shipping. Have you ever noticed how complicated it is to get your medication? When you're not feeling well or you're running low on something, it turns into a whole process. You call the doctor, your appointment's days away, you sit in the waiting room, then you stand in line at the pharmacy, and sometimes they don't even have it. That's the old system. It is slow, it's frustrating, and it doesn't have to be that way. That's why I've been telling you about All Family Pharmacy. My family loves it, and I use them myself. You go online, you choose what you need, you fill out a short medical form, and one of their licensed doctors reviews your request. If it's appropriate, they write up the prescription, and it ships straight to your front door. This is how healthcare should work. If you believe in being prepared like I do, this is one of the smartest moves you can make. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Lindell. Use the code Lindell10 to save 10% today.
Welcome to Vocal, the free speech social app that gives you a platform to amplify your voice. Speak freely, connect boldly, and be part of a growing movement for truth, faith, and freedom. Want to know what's happening right now? The Now Playing feature shows you exactly who's live and what's streaming in real time. Check out the show's feed, a non-stop lineup including LINDELLTV News 24/7, shows and on-demand programming all in one place. Connect with your favorite host and never miss a show. Explore the featured page for quick access to LINDELLTV's top shows. Follow your favorites and watch their newest content flow right into your feed. And when they go live on Vocal, you can join the live chat and be part of the action. Ask questions, share your thoughts, even help shape future shows. Stay informed on issues around securing our elections by following your state's Cause of America account. Join a group and connect on a deeper level, from faith and freedom to the future of our nation. Go to vocal.com or download the app today and be a part of the mission to save our country.
As we report day after day here, President Trump is demanding Congress to pass the Save America Act. telling them not to move forward with any bill until it's passed. Jim Paff with the Conservative Caucus with us today. Jim, why is it so hard and why is it so controversial? Why would anyone not want a fair election? Before you came on, we talked about and showed evidence of some cheating going on in Minnesota. More proof that we need secure elections. What is Congress doing?
Well, you know, the controversy is always with the party that feels like they'll be most aggrieved by the process changing, even if that change is a proper one and a just one. And in this case, Democrats know that they are in a bad way if they cannot have elections run the way they are, not just in the related to some of the problems that were just pointed out going on in Minnesota, and those fraudulent activities are bad enough. The whole way the election runs, the inability sometimes to validate whether an illegal is voting or not, our knowledge that illegals are on the election rolls, the numbers of which we can't entirely discern at the present because Democrat states and some Republican states, by the way, are unwilling to have their voter rolls tested against fraudulent Social Security numbers and other information. So you're going to be the aggrieved party saying that everything's unfair when it works against you. And as a country, we've always been strong because in the past, we used to have this idea, particularly with our election, that we're going to do it the right way. This is our neutral ground. We're truly going to treat it that way. I ran elections when I was a young man in the 1990s. And Democrats, I mean, even though you knew that everyone wanted to try to twist it their way, and you knew about what happened in 1960 in West Virginia and Chicago for John Kennedy, everyone had this idea, listen, we can't mess this part up. But that attitude's changed, particularly with Democrats.
And I want to tell my viewers, you know, we talk about this every single day. President Trump talks about it almost every single day. Let's roll another clip of the president still calling on Congress to act.
That in the Save America Act as one of our 5. That's voter ID. We want voter ID. We want proof of citizenship. We want no transgender mutilization of your children. We don't want transgender mutilation. That's number 3. We want no men in women's sports. That's number 4. And we don't want to have mail-in voting where the votes go. Where the hell do they come from? So we do that. It's 5 things. They're all 99%. They say, oh, that's an 80% issue, like voter ID. No, I think it's a 99. I think the Democrats have it at 87%. The leadership doesn't want it. Why don't you want voter ID? There's only one reason. Ready? Because you want to cheat. Okay? They blame it on all sorts of things. They said it's racist. They came up with things that you have to say their imagination is great. No, we're not going to let them cheat like they did in a certain election that we won't talk about. But that election was, and they cheat now. Look, we're not going to let it happen. So we're going to go get the Save America Act, not the Save Act. Nobody knew what the Save Act meant. The Save Act, what? Save what? Save America Act. And we're going to do everything we can. It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe we're having a hard time. I think anybody that votes against it shouldn't be allowed to run for office. You want to know the truth. But we're working.
I agree. It is so hard to believe that we're having such a hard time with getting this bill passed. It makes no sense to me from both sides of the aisle.
Well, the real culprits of this not getting passed right now is Republican leadership. I mean, they should be on top of it. You're talking about, as Donald Trump rightly points out, you're talking about an 80% issue. There's no downside to doing a filibuster process that drags things on in Congress for a little while until you can get the bill passed. There's no downside to that. Yet these idiots in leadership, some of them in Republican circles, just won't do it. But I do want to make this challenge because Donald Trump, without stating it specifically, makes reference to the 2020 election. And there is a lot of effort on Democrats, and in fact, they've tried to put this on the floor of the Senate to get Republicans to vote on whether they believe that Joe Biden really got 81 million votes and got elected. Here's my challenge. We can resolve that issue easily, and no one has to say one way or the other what they think of it if we require every state, every swing state in particular, to show every detail about the elections that they conducted and bring it out in the open. Because the one thing that's very interesting about this process too is not just what we need to change with the Save America Act, but that election officials have not been forthcoming about what they've done. We saw the windows getting covered in Detroit after Republican poll watchers were kicked out. We saw 60 cases that Democrats try to point to and say, well, courts kicked this out, so that's a fraudulent claim. Well, they were never adjudicated because they said Donald Trump didn't have standing. Okay, they didn't even try to do it. But here's what's most important. You have got election officials who have refused to be forthcoming about what they did in 2020. They threw Tina Peters into jail in Colorado because of this, and they are not being forthcoming on their voter rolls right now. So don't talk to me about Donald Trump's claims about 2020. That's not the problem here. The problem is election officials are not being honest about what they do and trying to get this right, which I think points to a worse fraud than anyone saying Donald Trump really won in 2020. That
was always about
we can have, but we can't have it without this.
No, and they don't want to provide that information, because if they provide that information and if they get the Save America Act passed, then it's, it goes against everything that we saw in the video with Rick Weibel just a minute ago. They can't come in and vote multiple times a day.
Yeah. And then this is why the founders, in their wisdom, in Article 1, Section 4 of the Constitution, did not give the federal government the right to run elections, but it did give Congress the right to regulate them, because there needed to be that balance. No state's going to be perfect. And we need to believe in the basic premise of the 10th Amendment that states have certain things that are their rights to undertake. But we also have to recognize, as the founders did, that human nature is not good in its own right. It has to be made good. It has to be kept good through work. And the reason that we have these balance of powers issues in our Constitution is to try to deal with that natural problem that James Madison so clearly talked about in Federalist 51, when he talked about men are not angels. If they were, we wouldn't need government. The role of government is to provide that balance. So Save America Act is rational, it's reasonable, it's based upon fundamental principles of how you run elections that are tried and true, and that we always proved ourselves to be very good at until we changed our elections from 230 years of success. If the Save America Act passes, we're very close to what we were doing forever when elections ran well. And when there were problems, as with the Civil Rights Act of 1964, we passed laws in Congress to fix it. This is no different than what we did with the Voting Rights Act in the 1960s, to get things right so abuses would be gotten rid of, and there are grave abuses in our election system that must be fixed.
You're absolutely right. Also, going on in Congress right now, another one that has us leaving us scratching our heads down with the Democrats. They're holding up paychecks for the Department of Homeland Security. Our TSA agents, God bless them, they're not going to work because they're not getting paid, causing the long lines at airports that we've been seeing at all of these airports all across the country. So President Trump said, I'm bringing in ICE to help out. People were missing their flights. They're standing in lines. We're hearing as long as 6 hours just to get through security. ICE showed up yesterday, I think about 12 to 14 airports across the country. This, I'm being told, has helped with lines. But this is a shame that our ICE agents are having to be taken out of the neighborhoods to deport illegals to go into airports to help with the lines and to help TSA agents, all because the Democrats don't want to fund DHS.
And the reason that this can happen, remember, ICE is under DHS. The reason this can happen is because the right deal was made last year to expand ICE funding so that it was available through the end of the year. And Democrats are struggling with that now because they're shutting down TSA to try to deal with ICE. And this is a Democrat problem. This is all because of the Democrats. But kudos to Donald Trump and Tom Homan for figuring out a way to make this work, because as I understand, not all the problems are resolved, but as you rightly point out, these airports are seeing a massive difference now than what was happening before. Now, listen, as to TSA, Frank, I don't mean to cast aspersions to TSA agents who work hard and are trying to get done what they do and protect our country, but the reality is this shouldn't be a government agency to begin with. I mean, this is one of the multiple lies that the Bush administration told us, including those to get us into the war in Iraq. They lied and said that part of the reason 9/11 happened was because back then, when the airlines ran security and they paid for it, the hijackers got through to the airplanes. But there was nothing anywhere that could have caused that checkpoint to stop these people unless the federal government and the intelligence community had made the airlines that ran that service then aware that there were these people coming. So they weren't the problem, but we lied through the Bush administration and said, we need to federalize this. We wouldn't be having this problem right now if we hadn't federalized security checkpoints that, frankly, the airlines are handling very well. But that's a separate issue. Listen, this needs to get done. Democrats are to blame, and I think the polls I'm seeing at least show that they're increasingly to blame for this. Donald Trump and Republicans have to take a precarious path on this too, but Donald Trump just apparently solved the issue with ICE coming in to help out, just to help organize things and give these people who are not getting paid for a month a little help. And kudos to the TSA agents that are sticking around and doing what they can. They are going to get their back pay, and they know that. But it's really hard to struggle through it when you're not getting the pay right now.
Absolutely. Everyone has bills to pay, and they've been saying that, they were even talking about it on the Senate floor just this week that, these TSA agents are struggling to pay mortgage. And so there's a bill that's been proposed that Congress doesn't get paid when there's a government shutdown. And I am 100% behind that bill and hoping it gets passed as well. But staying on the topic real quick of DHS, I just want our viewers to know that the new head of the Secretary of Homeland Security was approved by Congress yesterday, Mark Wayne Mullen, and he will get sworn in this afternoon inside the Oval Office. So be on the lookout for coverage on that. That's all happening today with President Trump. As you know, Kristi Noem was reassigned inside the Trump administration. So again, starting today, we'll have a new leader of DHS. We just have a few minutes left. I want to talk about yesterday. President Trump visited Memphis, participated in the Memphis Task Force Roundtable. Since this task force began, Jim, there's been over 7,400 arrests, including hundreds tied to homicides. 150 missing children have been found. Crime in Memphis is down 43%. Let's take a quick listen from yesterday, President Trump speaking on this.
But just as we have in D.C., here in Memphis, we've achieved one of the largest, fastest declines in violent crime ever recorded. So that's something, right? Ever recorded. In fact, you're half a percentage point away from the record, so we'll catch them in the next month or two, all right? I think that's going to happen. But that includes a 60% drop in robberies, a 74% drop in carjacking, and motor vehicle thefts. We have always achieved numbers that are good. These numbers are right on line to be among the best that we've done, and wherever we do this, we have very similar results. We were in New Orleans, where the governor called us, as you know, and we went to New Orleans. They just had Mardi Gras. They said it's the first, it sounds terrible, but it's the first Mardi Gras we've ever had where there was no murder. Can you imagine? Doesn't sound too good, but, we're talking about the facts. And they said we had the lowest crime that we've ever had on Mardi Gras, which is almost nothing. We went there about 4 months ago. We did a great job. So we've achieved a 70% reduction in murders from the peak in this place. In total, we've arrested 7,000 criminals, seized more than 1,100 illegal guns, taken more than 1,000 pounds of illicit narcotics and rescued more than 150 missing children, making their parents beyond happy.
Jen, we only have about 30 seconds left, but what does this tell you whenever we are letting our law enforcement officers do their job from the local level to the federal level? This is what happens. Crime goes down.
It says three things. First of all, most of our crime problem that we have in this country is caused by illegal aliens, criminal illegals. And that lie has been that wasn't the problem. It was propagated during the Biden administration. The second thing it says is we possibly don't have so much crime in American culture if we can just get rid of the crime from illegal alien culture. And then the third thing it says is when you have a deterrent effect that is appropriate within constitutional grounds through policing, then it also reduces crime. 43% less crime in Memphis this year compared to last year. That's a huge number. And it just shows that every Democrat policy has been a failure and has caused us greater harm in this country. Thank you, Donald Trump.
Thank you, Donald Trump. And I have to show this quickly because I'm a huge Elvis fan. After the roundtable, he visited Graceland, autographed a replica guitar of the King, Elvis Presley. So that was a little fun right there to see him visiting Graceland yesterday. I'll probably get in trouble from this from the Democrats, but two kings.
Well, my wife
Right.
got a scarf from Elvis at his second to the last concert at IU Memorial Stadium just before he went to Market Square Arena in Indianapolis, his last concert back then in 1977. So that was the cherished gift of hers that was stolen, but nonetheless, yeah, we love Elvis. Thank you, Donald Trump, for honoring the man.
Absolutely. Go to conservativecaucus.com as we head into the midterms. Get involved. Be the boots on the ground. Be the eyes and ears in your local community. You can go to the website and learn all of the information there. Conservativecaucus.com. Jim Paff, always a pleasure to have you.
Thanks, Vanessa.
When we come back, stock up on your medical supplies. Don't wait. We will sit down with All Family Pharmacy and get ready for CPAC 2026. Mike Lindell will be there. We'll tell you all about it when we come back.
Have you ever noticed how complicated it is to get your medication? When you're not feeling well or you're running low on something, it turns into a whole process. You call the doctor, your appointment's days away, you sit in the waiting room, then you stand in line at the pharmacy, and sometimes they don't even have it. That's the old system. It is slow, it's frustrating, and it doesn't have to be that way. That's why I've been telling you about All Family Pharmacy. My family loves it, and I use them myself. You go online, you choose what you need, you fill out a short medical form, and one of their licensed doctors reviews your request. If it's appropriate, they write up the prescription, and it ships straight to your front door. This is how healthcare should work. If you believe in being prepared like I do, this is one of the smartest moves you can make. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Lindell. Use the code Lindell10 to save 10% today. For the first time ever, we're bringing you MyPillow mattresses and mattress toppers for as low as $99.98. Remember, sleep's all about temperature and pressure points. Whatever sleep needs you have, we have the right technology for you. Like our MyPillow mattress topper, our queen size has over 10,000 individual comfort supports to help relieve your pressure points. And how about our 3-inch Hybrid Plus mattress topper? It's infused with copper and silver to help your body get the restorative sleep it needs. And our MyPillow and Case Coil mattresses, I personally helped develop these mattresses to make sure they have everything needed to give us great sleep. Plus, they're made right here in the USA, and they ship right to your front door, absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to get MyPillow mattresses and toppers for as low as $99.98 and free shipping.
Springtime allergies. It's that time of year. Let's bring in Michael Kinsler, All Family Pharmacy. Good morning to you, Michael. Good to see you. Please tell me you have so many good medications for us, like myself, who suffer from seasonal allergies. What can we take?
Yeah, so we have all the different allergy medications, antihistamines, nasal sprays, whether you need to decongest or you need a steroid to bring down the inflammation in your nasal cavities. We also have the travel stuff. Spring's not all just about allergies, right? Spring break's going on right now. Families are traveling. People are on cruises. They're sick of the cold weather. They're ready to go to the tropics here in Florida, Bahamas, wherever the cruises are going. So we also offer medication for travel, whether you need anti-nausea or anti-nausea patches, different types of electrolytes or different types of ibuprofens for headaches, for walking, moving, arthritis medication, you name it, anything you need for a family to travel with.
That's good to know, because you're absolutely right. Even though spring break is over for most people, the summer months, people are starting to plan their summer vacations, and a lot of people will be, heading to places and destinations where there's crowds of people. So it's good to have a little emergency pack on you when you travel with your family.
Yeah, I take, traditional meds with me on all vacations just in case. So I love it. It just kind of gives us a peace of mind while we're overseas, while we're, out at the beach, at the pool, whether it be like an ear drop for my son, any sort of antibiotic or cough medicine in case somebody were to catch something. And we just have your traditional medications too, right? If you want to bring an extra dose of your maintenance drugs while you're overseas, just in case you were to, leave it at the airport, leave it at the hotel. We provide all these different medical kits and travel kits for all types of needs, whether it's just allergy, maybe it's still cold where you live. I know that there's still snow on the Northeast coast, and so temperatures are still pretty low over there, and people are still feeling the effects of cold and flu season. Whereas down here in South Florida, it's now hot, allergies are out, so it's kind of a different atmosphere depending upon where the individual lives.
And your website's very user friendly. We were just looking at it just seconds ago. And if you want a specific kit, when you click on the tab, it directs you to exactly everything that's in that kit to see if it's a perfect fit for you. We're looking at it right now. So you've made this very user friendly for the American people.
Yeah, you could choose one of the kits or you can customize the kit, right? I always suggest customizing it based on what your need is. Some of the kits, they have tons of antibiotics. You might not need all of the antibiotics. You might only just need a few or just one. But you can just go to our main website, or you can go to the kits page. It's based on your lifestyle, based on your plans, whether it's travel or staying at home. We have a list of over 300 medications now, and we're starting to grow and grow more and more. We have all different types of vitamins. We have our own vitamin brand that we make here in the United States. It's actually made in Tampa, Florida, where our manufacturer is. And so we provide just about everything that you can provide. And if it's something you're looking for and it's not on the website, feel free to reach out to us. We're always sourcing new medications. We're always looking to compound different options to help people. Right? The big thing now with RFK Jr. is the fight against the FDA for peptides. We're hoping that he is successful in that fight, because that gives us the ability as a pharmacy, as well as a telemedicine platform, to guide individuals in the right direction to take some of these drugs that are out there. I should call them peptides, not drugs, because they're naturally occurring amino acids. But to take these peptides in a safe and effective manner. If RFK Jr. is able to get that pushed through with the MAHA movement, we could essentially compound some of these peptides to, help individuals who suffer from pain, who suffer from, lack of recovery, aging, weight loss. I mean, there's so many out there. A couple of them are beauty products, hair, collagen, nails, skin, you name it. It's in the peptide network. And so if it successfully fights the FDA and gets them to overturn what the Biden administration did, it'll allow us, again, to then compound them. And if we can compound them, we have to go through our physician. Our physician has to legally prescribe them, and they will guide you in the right direction in a safe and effective manner. If he can't beat the FDA on this, this opens up the black market, and it opens up people to getting hurt because they don't know how to take these peptides. They don't know how to take these medications, and they're just going to go and buy it online. It's probably shipped in and bottled over in China or India and sent here to their house, and they don't know essentially what's in it. We can essentially make them here in the United States in our pharmacy in Florida with safety and effectiveness, and we can provide the C of A, we could provide potency assay tests to show there's no endotoxins and to show that we have a safe and reliable product. And I think that's very important.
You're absolutely right. They're still going to get their hands on this, but it's very dangerous. So we're hoping that that is overturned so people can get those products from people like you at All Family Pharmacy. Another drug that is at the forefront, and I know we talk about this often, but I'm a huge follower of all of the success stories that I'm seeing with ivermectin. I get online and almost daily, I am seeing people just have success story after success story with ivermectin. In fact, the last big sale that you had over there at All Family Pharmacy, I stocked up on it, Michael, and I encourage everyone else to do so. And it's kind of like having an emergency kit. You sleep better at night. There's a little more ease to know that you have these products and it's there for you when you need them. So let's talk about ivermectin and how people can go online and order the pills that you're seeing there on your screen.
Yeah, so you could go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Lindell and place an order directly on our website. You have the Lindell 10 coupon. I believe for the next 48 hours, we've released a Lindell 25 coupon. That's going to encourage those as we're stepping into spring to take advantage of a discount to order some of these medications and to stock up on some of these medications. So you can use Lindell 25 and it'll save 25% off your entire order. We offer capsules from 9 milligrams up to 45 milligrams. So based on, it's a weight-based medication depending upon the individual. If you need assistance, you're always welcome to call the pharmacy directly. We can walk you through the process. We can assist you in placing an order, whether it's ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine or mebendazole, or it could be, a maintenance medication, an antibiotic, a nasal spray, a rescue inhaler. It's, we have everything. And this discount will be applied to any of those drugs that you decide to choose. Methylene blue, for instance, one of my favorite drugs, biohacking. Helping, with so many various needs as we get older, keeping our brain going on a daily basis. So, we have tons and tons of different medications you can use this discount for. And it's a great time to offer it because it's spring. Spring is here. It's travel season. It's time to have fun. The sun is out, maybe not in the Northeast, but down here in Florida and some of the other southern states. And, we have Zofran for anti-nausea and some antibiotics. So.
A one-stop shop. I'm just sitting there watching it scroll and just in disbelief at all of the great products you have there. And as we scroll, I think to myself, I need that, and I need that, and I need that. I have to say a funny story. And most women who go through pregnancy can agree that you get pregnancy brain. That's what the term is phrased for people who have brain fog during pregnancy. That was 4 years ago for myself, and I still have that brain fog. So I don't have pregnancy to blame the brain fog these days. It was a good excuse for 9 months, but I can't use it anymore. So methylene blue is a great product. I need to look into that as well. It definitely helps clear up your mind as you go through the day.
Yeah, methylene blue is a great option, and NAD plus is a great option. Those two we've seen on the cellular level help so many people out there. And methylene blue for cancer, those who have battled cancer and have won or continuing to battle cancer, chemo, radiation, immunotherapy, it destroys our bodies. Those who are going through this fight, methylene blue has been a key factor to keep them, going energy-wise, keep their brain going. I had so many people who either are battling cancer and they're taking methylene blue with positive effects, or they're finished their fight with cancer. They're now in remission and they're using methylene blue and they're continuing. It's providing them better energy. Their neurons are firing on different levels than it is now. So it's a great option for those. And then for pregnant women, and those who are, outside of pregnancy, outside of the breastfeeding window, this is the time to take one of these medications.
Absolutely. I want everyone to go online right now, allfamilypharmacy.com. The promo code typically is Lindell10. Michael and his team, they've upped that so you can save more for the next 48 hours. It is now Lindell25. Michael, thanks so much for being here today, and happy shopping to all of our viewers out there. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you for having me.
And we're going to close the day with looking at the stock market real quick. Opening bell numbers are way down today. Of course, a lot of that has to do with the Middle East. We also want to remind you we're heading to CPAC. Mike Lindell will be on the stage this week at CPAC. Be looking for coverage of that right here on Lindell TV. And real quick, our prayer of the day as we close comes from the book of Proverbs. And the Bible says, "My son, fear the Lord, and the king do not associate with those who are given to change, for their calamity will rise suddenly, and who knows the ruin that comes from both of them." That is your daily Bible verse. Thank you all so much for joining us today. That'll do it for us. Have a great day.
Talk is cheap when it comes to saving our country. We're not just any cell phone service provider. We're Patriot Mobile. It's not enough to simply talk about values. We live them. Defending life, protecting our First and Second Amendments, and celebrating our military and first responder heroes. We're boots on the ground making a difference. We're America's only Christian conservative wireless provider with nationwide coverage on all 3 major networks and 100% US-based customer service. Join Patriot Mobile today and make an impact every time you use your cell phone.
For the first time ever, we're bringing you MyPillow mattresses and mattress toppers for as low as $99.98. Remember, sleep's all about temperature and pressure points. Whatever sleep needs you have, we have the right technology for you. Like our MyPillow mattress topper, our queen size has over 10,000 individual comfort supports to help relieve your pressure points. And how about our 3-inch Hybrid Plus mattress topper? It's infused with copper and silver to help your body get the restorative sleep it needs. And our MyPillow and Case Coil mattresses, I personally helped develop these mattresses to make sure they have everything needed to give us great sleep. Plus, they're made right here in the USA, and they ship right to your front door absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to get MyPillow mattresses and toppers for as low as $99.98 and free shipping.
America's founders warned that without knowledge and virtue, no nation can remain free. Yet through the steady infiltration of Marxist ideology, we have been stripped of both, and we are no longer a moral and educated people. To save America, we must spark nothing less than a national renaissance. That's why you need Freedom Talk Magazine, the journal of truth and virtue. We cultivate enlightened thinking and principled living, offering unique insights into the issues and remarkable people defining our world. Sign up today for your free subscription to Freedom Talk Magazine and join the new American Renaissance.
Have you ever noticed how complicated it is to get your medication? When you're not feeling well or you're running low on something, it turns into a whole process. You call the doctor, your appointment's days away, you sit in the waiting room, then you stand in line at the pharmacy, and sometimes they don't even have it. That's the old system.